This is a very exciting day for us, and I'm very proud to be standing here. We understand in politics, the media sometimes likes to write stories, to pit people against each other, issues against each other, to look on what is news as maybe the media sees it. Today is a different kind of story. It's a story about members working together. It's a story about the good things that can happen when you do the right thing. And I'm just proud to have been a part of this seminary program in Texas. Senator Whitmire and I went to Angola prison in April of 2010. I was invited there because of a movie I had made, a Christian movie called The Heart of Texas, and the warden there saw the movie, contacted a friend of mine who was involved in the movie, and he said, I want to show you something we're doing in prison in Louisiana. Would you come? And the program sounded intriguing to me because Angola prison went from the most dangerous maximum security prison in America to the least dangerous program after they had graduated pastors through the only seminary program in prison in America. And so I immediately called my chairman. I was on criminal justice, Chairman Whitmire, and I said, John, would you be willing to go spend a weekend in prison with me? And I'll never forget what Senator Whitmire said. He said, anything that will help our prisons to make them safer for our employees and the inmates and help turn around lives, I'm interested in. And there's no one who's been more passionate about our prison system than Chairman Whitmire. There's no one in the legislature who knows more about it. And so we went to the prison for the weekend. And I'll let John conclude the story. But this Saturday, in 2 days, from the Darrington unit south of Houston, we're going to graduate the first pastor inmates in the history of Texas. 33 inmates who have finished the same course that anyone who wants to be a pastor would take. They've been going to school every day for the last 4 years, and they are going to be our first inmates to become pastors. Not a dollar of public money or taxpayer money, all privately raised. And it would not have happened, quite frankly, without the hand of God, and it wouldn't have happened without the leadership of Chairman Whitmire. So with that, I'd like to introduce my friend and my partner and the leader on this issue, Chairman John Whitmire.
Thank you, Governor Patrick. I'm pleased to announce the graduation is Saturday. We could have quietly attended the ceremony and shaken the hand of the inmates that will graduate. Their families will be there. But talking to Governor Patrick, this is something that the public should know about the success of a prison program. I have literally, since I've been chairing it in '93, been involved in numerous programs. The Bambi program, where we allow female inmates to keep their children that they have. We have usually a couple hundred babies born each year in prison. Never made sense if you had the right profile inmate that was going to be out within 2 years that she not be allowed to use the child, help bring their lives down. We've had numerous drug and alcohol programs, mental health programs, state jail concept. We've closed 3 prisons in the last 2 sessions. We're still the toughest state in the union in dealing with violent offenders. But let me just announce and sing out today, nothing has been done in our state TDCJ system like the seminary graduates that we'll go witness. Governor Patrick and I will be there to applaud their success. To follow his description, I had no idea what I was getting into. I'm busy. He was on my committee. He was sincere. He said, John, I hear there's a remarkable success story provided by God to give inmates an opportunity to graduate as ministers and then stay in the system to go mentor and minister to other inmates. And let me emphasize the difference in this from the other programs I work with. Most all of our rehabilitation programs prepare you for the free world, to reduce recidivism, to go back and be taxpayers and be with your family and stay out of trouble. This program is for the inmates that, one, are not coming up for parole within 10 years. It is for our hardened criminals. We have 150,000 locked up today. We got hundreds of applicants. Not only was their academic background considered, their attitude, their disciplinary record, but their willingness to become students, and we've been to their, it's conducted in Darrington Unit, which at the time when we started this was one of our toughest, problematic units, and I'm here to announce today, now it's one of our best run, and they have Bible studies on most of their blocks in the prison, conducted by these students. So 33 will graduate at 3 o'clock Saturday. There's 185 total in the program. It's like all other colleges. It's got freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But these 33, and I'm going to call upon the prison system in a minute. Brad Lips, I want to thank you. Brian Collier is actually the assistant director who went to us to Angola. They will break up in teams of 4 and go to our 6 toughest prisons, our maximum security prisons. I want to emphasize, we're not preparing these folks to leave soon to work in the free world, but they will go worship, mentor, counsel other inmates. It has a profound impact on the safety for our correction officers, the communities where our prisons are located. It enhances the success of the young offenders that they will minister to. And it's just, I just can't tell you how excited I am. We work so hard to have successes in this business, and this is, in my judgment, one of the greatest that I've had the pleasure in my career. When we got down there, if you remember Governor Patrick, they put us in colleges. It's a very tough, remote prison, like many of ours. They placed us in colleges, and then they took us to a Sunday evening worship service. They placed us down front in a church with about 200 inmates behind us, but there was also a row of inmates on the side of the wall of this chapel. So, being inquisitive as I normally am, I don't want to sit with the dignitaries up front. I moved over to the bench and sat with a young African-American inmate that I asked him, "Where are you from?" "New Orleans." "How old are you?" 24. "What are you serving time for?" "Murder." "What's the length of your sentence?" "Life without parole." And that was the population, the profile that was worshiping with this seminary leadership that Sunday night. And within about 10 minutes, I wrote on one of my business cards, the warden being down front, Burl King, which I wish all of you could meet. He's the leader that gave us the concept, showed us the way. I wrote him a note and I said, "Warden, I have never seen so many inmates serving a life sentence with a smile on their face." Because they were in that worship service. They said, if we're not freed in this world, we're going to be freed in the next world. And we met with them for the next 3 days. The night before we left, we went to the warden's office. Senator Patrick at the time and I met with the seminary officials, and they said, "What do you think?" And we said, "We want to do it. We want to take it back to Texas." We held hands and prayed. And I'll get real personal for a moment. I can pray as well as anybody, but I normally don't do it in public. Grew up in good Southern Baptist, but we were with strangers, the warden, his assistants. So about 14 of us held hands and said, "Let's pray that this can be a success in Texas." So the first minister prayed, and I thought, well, good, that's it. It became a chain prayer. And I was pleased to pray for guidance that we could take, because this is not easy to do in Texas. We have a much larger, quite frankly, more dangerous population in Texas. 108 prisons, 150,000, 108 locations, 150,000 inmates. To bring this back to Texas was a miracle. And Senator Governor Patrick, just thank you for reaching out and the leadership of TDCJ, because it is changing lives, improving public safety. And I will finish by saying, after that night of prayer, we went back before that same chapel of several hundred inmates that were being led by this seminary group of inmates. And I had my minister hat on that day. And I told them that we were making a commitment. Senator Patrick and I were going to take this back to Texas, talk to our prison officials, and that their hard work and their faith was now going to impact the offenders and the inmates across our prison system in Texas. It's amazing that it's been 4 years, but 33 will graduate, and very soon they will be going. See, the ideal is they will go to the nonviolent, younger inmates and make them have an opportunity to turn their lives around. And then ultimately, obviously, these inmates, the ministers, will be reviewed when they come up for parole consideration. But some of them, ladies and gentlemen, are very, very tough. Nature of the crimes. I mean, we have several murderers that are now participating in this program. But quite frankly, because they've turned their lives around and becoming ministers, they're going to become our best mentors for our younger ministers. At this time, I would yield to Brad Livingston, who sent, Brian was on the trip with us. And I'd say, Brian, what do you think? He said, well, it's what you and Senator Patrick think is more important. But it's been a miracle. Oh, and let me emphasize, no tax dollars. The Heart of Texas Foundation, Grove Norwood, which gets a lot of credit with Senator Patrick's, Governor Patrick's contact, has raised the money from churches across the state. But I've actually heard from some of the offenders' families that it has so improved the relationship between the offenders and their families. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is why some people say, Whitmire, after 42 years, why do you still run for office? Don't let anybody doubt why I run for office. It's for miracles, it's success stories like this, and I think we can continue to be tough on crime in Texas, tougher than any other state in the nation, but being smart on crime and turns lives around, which improves public safety. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Chairman Whitmire. First, I want to thank Chairman Whitmire and Governor Patrick for your leadership on this. Clearly, as they both articulated today, this is a unique program. It's one that they have provided a lot of their own effort, energy, and political capital on it, and we very much appreciate it. As an agency, we're the beneficiaries of this kind of unique program. And I'll just add a few details to amplify some of what they said. This, frankly, the 4 years have just flown by. I look back and think about the lead time that we all operated under to put this program in place. It was a very short lead time, but we all got it done. I think, again, it was a great example of the elected officials and the policymakers rolling up their sleeves along with agency leaders and administrators. And again, the Southwestern Theological Seminary, they're the ones that are handling this program. It's their program. It's a fully accredited 4-year bachelor's degree program that these offenders are going through. And again, it's just a tremendous program. In discussions with our warden and members of the seminary who teach there daily, these offenders have changed remarkably in the 4 years, not just academically, but in terms of their behavior and their example to other offenders there at the Darrington unit. And the way we leverage this, again, it's the intent that we will have an exponential impact. These offenders will have an exponential impact when they move out this summer after graduation. We'll be sending them out in groups of 4 to 6 of our maximum security facilities. They will be engaged in, as Senator Whitmire stated, programs leading worship services, discipleship classes, grief counseling, just a whole host of, in some cases, one-on-one activities, but in most cases, assisting our chaplaincy program and our chaplains on our units, providing the kind of guidance that one would expect from someone who is an ordained minister. This, as Senator Whitmire alluded to, we have lots of programs in this agency. This is absolutely an exciting one. It's very different from what you'll see in most prisons across this country. There are, obviously, at Angola, that was the first one. And we made several trips out there. And we learned a lot. I think we, during the course of implementation, made sure that we adapted the program to fit what we need. And I just can't thank our warden and the team at the Darrington unit enough. They've done a tremendous job. It's a cultural change within the organization, both for staff and for offenders. Just to give you some sense, as Senator Whitmire pointed out, these offenders have at least 10 years of eligibility, or 10 years before their first parole eligibility, before they're accepted into this program. Roughly 2/3 of the offenders in this program are in for a conviction of homicide, and the other roughly 1/3 are a variety of other, in many cases, aggravated offenses. They're serving significant sentences, and again, it's a unique program in that they are there for the long haul and will soon be making pretty significant impact, not just at the Darrington unit, but in other locations throughout the state. Again, one last time, thank you both very much.
Brian? Same.
I don't know that I have anything further. It was already referenced, we were on a trip together in Angola in 2010, and to be able to say that Saturday we'll graduate a class like we saw in Angola in 2010 is pretty amazing. So it's moved very fast and very well, and the program has years of success ahead of it, because when the field ministries hit the ground, which happens after this weekend, that's really where the culture change will start, as they spread around the system.
And the sheer size of it will have the impact. See, there's 185, and we'll have a freshman class this September, so it's an ongoing program. So within just a few years, we will have offender ministers living with other inmates, and we'll have them in all of our units, and it's literally going to change the culture. It's going to give hope to inmates that didn't have hope before. It'll improve safety for correction officers, the inmates, and hopefully when they're released, they're going to be, have a greater opportunity to be productive, and as we said, it'll save taxpayers millions of dollars. I know for a fact it'll have that kind of impact and improve public safety, because it's going to be a university that continues. In fact, I would fully expect us, when we see the positive results, that we will probably have a seminary in another location. And in fact, I'm anxious to get up to Gatesville. You know, we have about 12,000 women incarcerated in Gatesville. In fact, most of them for nonviolent offenses. There's no reason why we shouldn't quickly, Governor Patrick, duplicate this and its success and get it to the female inmates in Gatesville.
Any questions?
I've got two. I'll just throw them out both at once. When Governor Bush was in office, he brought Charles Colson's prison ministry program to Texas. Is this in any way tied to that? Also, that program made allowances or whatever for Muslim inmates. Does this program have anything for Muslims?
First of all, it has nothing to do with the Colson ministry, although they've been very interested in this program. Secondly, what is different about this is in Angola, where they were desperate for an answer to turn that prison around. What the warden there told me was that he talked to a friend of his who was a pastor in New Orleans, and the pastor said to change the culture of the prison, you have to change the character of the men. And you change the character of the men by changing their heart, and only Jesus Christ can change that heart. This program was open for everyone, RG, but this was a seminary to be a Christian pastor. So anyone who had the aptitude to get a college degree, who had the record of not being a problem within the prison system, because there was zero tolerance in this, could apply. And then the prison system decided who those best candidates would be. And we've lost very, very few out of the program. And I'm told their GPA is 3.7 on average. They've been great students. So anyone can apply, but this was to learn about the Old and New Testament and be ministers for Christ.
Should there be a similar program for Muslim inmates?
They can join this program if they follow this teaching, or they can, there are programs for individuals who can do as what they wish. But this money, this program is focused on the Bible. I read somewhere once, they said the next great revival in America may start in the prison. And if that's true, we're part of that revival here in Texas. One more question?
You know how much money has been raised today to support this program?
I don't know the exact number. We had to raise about $150,000 to start because we had to have a fully accredited library, which I recall was about $50,000 to buy the books and establish that. And then we pay, the foundation pays the professors, because there is a campus from Southwestern Theological Seminary of Fort Worth. There's a campus in Houston where any of you, anyone who wants to be a pastor goes to their campus. And so those professors drive out to Darrington from that campus. So so it's primarily to pay for the salaries of the professors and the basic materials once we got it running. Again, I want to thank Chairman Whitmire because he, without hesitation, said, "I'll go." And as you heard, we went there in April. We had our first students in September. People would say government has never moved that quickly. But when John Whitmire decides he's going to get something done, it gets done. I'm real proud of John.
Sir, the 33 are graduating. How many are still in training?
There's 185 total, 33 Saturday are part of that.
So 33 part of the one.
And you're all welcome to come.
No, it's a heck of a program.
Come. We had the press conference today because we know not a lot of you may be able to come, but you're welcome. You have to get with Keith to work out, get your credentials cleared so you can get into the prison. But we'd love to have you there.
It's going to be an impressive ceremony. The family, the most of the class will be there. And what's so neat is you can just feel it among the inmate population. As I said, Darrington was one of our problematic units when we started 4 years ago. Contraband was an issue. And so what they do, here's a neat deal, let me impress them. We didn't segregate. The students are not housed by themselves. They go back in general population. So they'll be taking their Bibles and their studies back to a cell block. And the warden reports it immediately. The language cleans up. That's a good symptom. The language, the cursing, is not tolerated among these men of God, and it just makes for a more peaceful. And, prisons are a tough spot under the best of circumstances, but it has put an environment of let's do something positive while we're here. So I'm here to tell you, I can't tell you, a lot of you in this room have watched since '93. When I took over criminal justice in '93, it was a broken system. We had 60,000 inmates incarcerated with 30,000 that belonged in prison backed up in our county jails. Inmates were serving 1 month for every year that they were sentenced. That's just how dysfunctional it was. We went into an expansion program, we went into some treatment programs, and I could give you a list of the things that we're doing. But when I saw this, Governor, I said, I don't know if we can try it. I don't know if we'll pull it off, but we'll try. But because of the leadership of TNCJ, and I think they probably knew about that time that Patrick was going to be the lieutenant. I think somebody leaked it to him back 4 years ago. No, the Lord works. And let me just also, without getting too preaching this morning, Dan Patrick and I have been friends a long time. He was on my committee. Everybody said, "Oh, isn't that going to catch him?" We do disagree occasionally. He was nothing but supportive as a member of my committee. And this trip and this bonding over this program led to the partnership that you're witnessing today. We have our differences, but we are committed to making Texas a better place to live and work. And Dan, it was a special opportunity to go to Angola and just being witnessed as we talk today. Because we still have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do in many areas.
And the reason this works is the reason Christ works in everyone's life. Gives hope and gives peace. And these men in this prison, many felt like no one cared about them. No one would forgive them. The victims' families wouldn't forgive them. Their own families wouldn't forgive them. And what they have learned through this is, with Christ, there is hope, there is peace, there is forgiveness. And when they embrace that and share that with other members who are desperate, then that is revolution. And that's what's happening. Hey, we got to run the session. Thank you all very much.